Welcome to the Achieve Success Podcast. I'm your host, Nathaniel F. Holmes. Each week, I feature ordinary people who have accomplished great things. Tune in to get inspired and receive tips that'll help you reach your goals in business and life as you strive to become the best version of yourself and achieve success.
So tell me a little bit about kind of your background. You know, we don't have to go into, the professional background. We kind of talked about that already. But, kind of like your childhood growing up, where you're from, what was that like?
Oh, childhood. So I was born in Lagos, Nigeria, and I came to the United States when I was about 11 years old. And when I tell you there was a huge cultural change, I remember me and my brother, first we landed, the first thing we said, because we came in January, was like, oh my God, it's so cold. I want to go back home. Like, it's freezing up here. I want to go back home.
Right.
Like it was crazy.
Now, where did you guys come into? Like, what was your port of entry? Where did you come into first?
When I tell you I'm a Durhamite, I came straight from Lagos, Nigeria to Durham, North Carolina.
Are you serious?
I've been in Durham, North Carolina ever since. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Why Durham?
So, my parents that I had nothing to do with that choice. I know my dad was here first. My dad was here first. He went to Fairview A&M in Texas, in Houston.
Right.
And then he had a job that brought him here to Durham, and we flew to Durham, and we were here. So so it's flying to Durham, and then there is that huge cultural difference that we kind of have to get acclimated to. And then we grew up in first in Garrett Square Apartments. I don't know if folks are familiar with Durham. Garrett Square Apartments off of Garrett Road.
Hey,
that was rough.
I know Garrett Square, brother.
Yes.
I think that's probably where most of the immigrants go that come to Durham is Garrett Square. Yes.
So we grew up in Garrett Square, and then my parents bought a house in Dearborn off of Bragtown. So it growing up was rough. And you're a proud Liberian, I'm a proud Nigerian. Back in the 90s, we can't say that,
Right.
Right. So it was tough trying to fit in, and then you just kind of have just the neighborhood and whatever that brings in, and growing up. So growing up was rough, Right. I talked to my brother, and we're like, yo, we endured. Just coming out the neighborhood unscathed, that's something itself. That's a whole nother podcast.
Right.
But we were latchkey kids too. I tell you, my parents were the hardest working people I know. My dad drove a taxi. My mother worked at a nursing home, and we were pretty much latchkey kids. We came home, we fed ourselves, and I'm the oldest of 4 boys. Mm-hmm. So I took care of my younger brothers too. So growing up was tough, but I honestly now appreciate it because it made me the person that I am today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And since as you're saying that, I'm like, man, maybe this is all of our story, bro. Because
it is.
I'm telling you, when you talk about latchkey kids, like that was all we knew. When we went to school, we came home, parents were at work. I was the oldest. I had 2 younger sisters. So I had to make sure that, they were taken care of as well. And, for me, you said you were 11 when you came, so you were older than I was. I was 7, almost 8 when my family came. So I started out a little bit, and when we came into New York. We came into Brooklyn.
That's cold.
We talk about cold. Yeah. And it was March.
That's cold.
It was March of '86 when we came, brother. So talk about cold. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, similar story though. My mom was a nurse. She was a nurse till she retired. So I can definitely understand that. And So tell me about college. Where'd you go to school?
So I went to school at, shout out to St. Augustine's College. I went there for a year, and then I transferred to North Carolina Central. I went to St. Aug for a year because I told myself I was trying to get out of Durham. The furthest I could move to Durham was Raleigh.
Hey, that's about like everybody from, look, that's about like everybody from Durham that goes to A&T talking about it going from Durham. You're gonna meet everybody over there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm tired of Durham. I'm gonna stay in Raleigh.
Right.
And then after I miss home, so I came back and I transferred to Central. Now I graduated from North Carolina Central.
Awesome. Yes, I'm a proud Eagle as well.
Okay.
So,
what year?
I was there 96 to 2000. I didn't graduate because I had this thing about the spring, brother. The springtime come, you know how it is. Them clothes come off. That yard be, man. So I messed around and missed a couple classes here and there, and some people probably don't know.
It's never too late though, Nate. Never too late though.
Well, and that too is another podcast. But for everybody that went through that process, I have a special appreciation for it, because it definitely takes discipline and follow through. And at my age, that was what I didn't have. I mean, I messed around. I have an A at midterm, and mess around and miss 6 classes, and you know 6 is the number, right? You miss 6, you know what that is, right?
But I'll tell you though, my baby brother, he didn't go to school, and he's aspiring to be a musician. Right. And I've talked to him all the time, and I look up to him. Even right now, I look up to him because, he has a vision as far as what he wanted to do.
Right.
Back then, I didn't. All I knew was just go to school, and you had this, just go to school.
Right.
For no reason, just go to school and get your degree. Exactly. Right. Yeah. Whatever happens, but just go to school. So I went to school aimlessly. Right. I just went to school to go to school so I could get a degree, and then I guess you get a job after that, and I guess you'll make money after that. But it was just to go.
Right. So that in of itself right there, like if we were to pause and just sort of stop right there, that in and of itself is a measure of success, right? Achieving that degree, getting that diploma. And for some people, that is a huge accomplishment. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like you said, you've got a younger brother who that's not necessarily his path. So I've got 4 kids altogether, right? And my youngest is 8, my oldest is 21. But my baby boy, he's 13. And I feel like he's gonna be the one that college is not for, right? I feel like he'll be fine. Like he's talked about military or law enforcement, but it's not for everyone. And it's not. And I think that's kind of something else that's missed nowadays, is that we kind of push everybody to go, hey, you got to go to school, you need to go to college. There's nothing wrong with that. But like you said, if you're going aimlessly and you don't have a plan, then why are you going?
Exactly.
And I don't miss the point that there are opportunities that you give yourself by going to college. You have more opportunities just because you did. But I would say, is it worth the tens of thousands of dollars of debt that could be hanging over someone's head, once they're done? If you go on scholarship, that's great, which I was fortunate. I went on a scholarship, and I still messed around and didn't finish all of my classes. But that's a lot of money to put over a young person's head. And then when they come out, now they have that responsibility of paying that back, But there's a measure of success that one achieves when they complete that. And there's definitely something to be said for that.
But I think, I have a daughter, she's 7, and you kind of sit and have a plan with your child and say, okay, what do you want to be, or what do you want to do, or what do you like to do, and what are your interests are? and then say, okay, if you want to do this, here's the path to doing that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be college, you know, because like I said, our parents should say no, you know, because that's, you just go to school to go to school. You know, us as parents now are a little bit smarter about it. We kind of see the, you know, the fact on the back end where you might have student loans, because I have student loans that I have to pay for.
Right.
Baby girl, if you want to be a dentist, this is what it takes to be that.
Exactly.
You know, you do have to go to school. You have to go to dental school and things like that.
Right.
But if you don't, well, there's other paths you have to go to.
Right. And that's the beauty, I think, that we have, you know, you, myself, people our age, is that we're kind of in the middle, right? You know, where after that generation of, you know, like you said, hey, you have to go to school. This is the way, without really explaining or giving a picture or a vision of why you're doing it. You know, I'm big on the why, because I believe when people know why they're doing something, then they will give it their all. They'll put all the effort into it. But if you don't know why, then you're not going to give your best effort. So, you know, we're in a place to where we can help guide our children and help them, ask them, hey, what's your why? What would you like to do? And if this is what you want to do, this is the path to go, and this is why. Whereas for us, it wasn't like, it was just go to school. Go to school.
Just go.
Go to school.
Just go.
Right.
Either go to school or get out the house.
So tell me about your current career. Why did you choose your current career as a purchasing officer?
Okay, this is a funny story. All right, it's kind of long. Let me preface it, but it's a funny story. So, I worked in the bank. I was in banking for about 7 years, and I hated it. And you know, when you're aggressive looking for a job, you just apply to every job that you see, you know. And evidently, I applied to this job at the city of Durham. You know, it was like any other job I applied for. So I got a call on a Tuesday to come to an interview. It said purchasing agent. At that time, I knew nothing about purchasing, nothing. So I went to the job and I sat for the interview, and they asked questions that were more personality type questions. You know, what would you do if you have a deadline and you have other work to do? You know, questions like that. And I answered to the best of my ability. And I felt that was the worst interview I ever had, because I left the job not knowing what that job was. So I went home and I told my ex at the time, I said, yeah, the interview was terrible. They probably won't call me back. Lo and behold, on Thursday, they called and they offered me the position. Now, Nate, because I hated my job so much, I accepted it, right?
You hated your job so much, you took a job you didn't know nothing about.
I did not know. Yes. So I gave my note to my manager, and I said, yeah, I'm gonna quit. And she was like, okay, so what are you gonna be doing? I said, I don't know. and I told my ex, I said, yo, I'm gonna get a new job. She's like, oh, what are you gonna be doing? I said, I have no idea. It's because I hated my job. It's because I hated my job so much. I took the job, and that was something that I'm very proud of myself, was because I told myself, I'm gonna get in this job. I don't know what it is, but I will give it my all.
Right.
I will give it my all. So that was 6 years ago. Right. I came in fresh-faced in purchasing, not knowing anything. And fast forward 6 years later, I'm a director of purchasing. No, it's something that I'm proud of, but yeah, that's how I got in purchasing. So it was just a shot.
Let me ask you this. So that brings up something I'm curious about. So what was it that and I don't want to give away the answer to the question, but what gave you the confidence to go and even apply for something that you knew before applying for it that you had no prior experience? What was it that led you to believe that this is something that I can do?
Nate, I'll be honest with you. There was no secret sauce in it. I resume bombed because I had my job. You know, I would have done anything. I'll tell you, I could have did construction, and it was. I knew that I'll be successful the next job that I get, as long as it's not banking, because I was just through with it.
Right.
So it was just by a shot that you know they get a chance to get in purchasing.
But
I told myself, I said, look.
But something in you though, you just said it. You said, I knew that it didn't matter what it was, that
Nope.
I was what was it that was inside of you that gave you that confidence to say no matter what it is? Now it could be that you were just so, you know, unpleased with your current situation that you were willing to do anything.
Facts. Yes, I was. I was, but muse, my muse has always been my daughter. You know, she's 7, and she was about 1 when I did it, and I did a better life for her.
Right.
And you know, it was something that just sparked in me when she was born. And I said, "Oh man, I gotta feed her. I gotta be the best I can be for her."
Right. Right.
You know?
Right.
So she always been my muse. She was always been the reason that I keep doing what I do. But yeah,
right.
And that the question you asked, how did I get into purchasing? Purchasing chose me. I did not. I never knew of purchasing before I applied for that job. So that was always crazy when I tell people that story.
Yeah, that's awesome though, because in kind of my studying and my reading on success and people that you know I kind of see that that are doing well, the quote unquote experts say you have to have a why. If you don't have a why, if you don't have a driving force, then you won't achieve success. So your why was your baby girl. That if it were not for her, you would not have had the courage to step out of your comfort zone, even though you disliked where you were, but you were determined, I've got to do for her. And that was your why. That was your push, you know? So you went from 6 years ago, someone coming from the banking industry, not knowing anything about purchasing, to now being the director of purchasing at UNC-TV. And I'm just going to pause a little bit just so that people can kind of just think about that. 6 years ago, this young man was in the banking industry, knew nothing about purchasing. Because he knew he had a daughter that he wanted to be the best version of himself for, he stepped into a new career. And 6 years later, I don't know much about purchasing, but if your title is director of purchasing, that probably says you're somewhere near the top of the food chain or the totem pole when it comes to that particular expertise in terms of purchasing. 6 years. How in the world did you get from 0 to director in 6 years? How did you achieve that level of success?
You know, the couple things I think about is the belief in myself. You know, I always saw myself in that position, and nothing was going to stop me from being in that position. I used to have vision board that said, "Hey, this is the plan, and this is what I'm going to do." And I'll take the necessary steps to do it, you know, work hard, certifications, and you know, just be diligent in my goal, you know. And yes, you say 6 years later, I'm a director, but I have goals that I'm going to achieve 6 years from now, that I'm still to do.
Absolutely.
My why is always my why is always my daughter. And, you know, we have conversations and she'll ask me how many toys I had when I grew up. I'm from Liberia. I'm from Nigeria. I'm like, I didn't have any toys.
Right.
We used to sleep on the concrete,
Right.
and
Right.
and measure of success to me is providing your children what you never had. That's
Right.
all in my why, and that's always been the reason. So any experience she can have, anything to have, that I didn't have, kind of live my childhood through, it's amazing. So,
Right.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it's just work hard at it.
Work hard, and then I wrote down here vision. Vision. If you look at anybody who's achieved anything, it all started with a thought. It all started with a vision. You mentioned a vision board, and I think that every year around New Year we hear about people doing vision board parties and things like that. But I don't want our guests to think that it's understated or overstated how important it is to have a vision. In order for anyone to achieve success, you must first have a vision of success. You must first see yourself at that place before you can even begin to get there. We can look all around us at all of the things and marvel at. I mean, I'm in the car business, so I see cars all the time. But if we think back, there was a time when automobiles were not a thing, right? And it was horse-drawn carriages, but someone had a vision that we could transport ourselves and things better than that. And now we have electric cars. You know, um, I think about airplanes. I always think about the Wright brothers. They had a vision that, hey, we can go further than our cars and our horses can take us. We can probably fly. They had a vision, and it's very important that we understand that. In the Bible or the Quran or whatever book of belief that some people may read, I promise you, somewhere in there it talks about having a vision and how important it is to have a vision. And without a vision, there is no success. So I totally agree with you on that. Now, what do you do on a daily basis? Like, do you have like a success routine? Is there do you have a pattern or something that you do every day so that you can make sure that you're staying on top of your game, that you're hitting your targets, that you're achieving the things that you want to achieve? What do you do daily to ensure success?
First is just, do an honest assessment of yourself and say, where am I, and what am I doing, and what have I been doing? Does it work? And how can I change what my habits to get where I need to get? A lot of people wouldn't recognize, whether it's physically or not, of me, the last 3 or 5 years, because I had to change my habits to be where I want to be. I was the most introverted person. I really didn't talk to a lot of people, and I was shy about connecting with folks. And one thing I'll tell a lot of people, and let a lot of people know this, Nate, is first of all, I'm always available to extend a hand to talk to anybody that for mentorship or whatnot. And two is, in my experience, I found that a lot of African Americans will reach out to the younger people that are inspired, or people that want to seek advice or get ahead. That's been my experience. Everybody I've reached to, African Americans, they've always, helped me. I can say I did this with myself, but, I've had great mentors along the way that assisted me. And, I'm always want to, pay it forward and be there for anybody, guardians for that. But always seek that. And it's amazing how much you can do, if you assess yourself monthly. Say I want to make a connection with at least a director of purchasing, or I want to go lunch with a purchasing director and see what they do on their daily basis. If that's your, it's your sex, so that's your goal. Like I said, people will reach out to you, they'll talk to you, because your success is everybody's success.
Right, right. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to have some sort of routine. And when you talk about making the assessment and asking yourself those questions, we can very easily get caught up in our day-to-day activities, and before you know, we can go a month, 2 months, 3 months without taking that self-evaluation. I was talking to a couple of guys earlier before you and I got on, and one of the things that I struggle with is that daily routine and having the discipline to do those set of things. For me, my daily routine is supposed to look like get up early, exercise, do at least 15 minutes of training, and that's like sales training, and get my follow-up done. Oh, writing down my goals. See, I can't even remember my routine. That's how bad it is. But but before COVID-19 hit, my routine was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm up at 5 o'clock. I go play basketball at 5:30 in the morning. I get done. I get to work early, usually by 8:15. We don't open till 9. So I'm getting my follow-up and everything done. But since COVID-19 hit, like I'm feeling myself, waking up later. I'm not sticking to that routine. And now I'm feeling sluggish because I'm not exercising. I want to express to our guests how, or to our listeners, how important it is that you have to develop some sort of routine in order to ensure that you're going to achieve success. And when you talk about having that assessment, whether it's a monthly assessment or a weekly assessment, you've got to set the time aside to sit down and ask yourself those questions that you just said, Rue. Like, you got to ask those questions. Where am I on my goals? What do I need to do? What do I need to change? What do I need to start doing in order to get to where I want to be? So that's awesome. So, you're a young man. You're not 40 yet, are you?
40.
Are you?
I'm 40. I hit 40. Yes.
Oh man. So true story. I'll be 42 in May. Just last year, I stopped telling people that I was 29. I've been telling people I was 29 for like 10 years.
Hey, I embrace it. I embrace it. I'm happy. I'm 40. As long as you don't look 40, that's what matters.
Man.
You can tell them anything as long as you don't look like it.
I was like, no, I'm 29. I'm 29. Finally, I was like, man, let me stop playing. But what advice would you give to your younger self? Like if you could turn back the hands of time, if you could go back to, maybe when you're graduated from high school, or maybe back further than that. I mean, for me, I think high school is that big, that huge time, that real big differential time frame in our lives where, big decisions that made. If you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh my goodness. I'll tell him a lot. But one thing I will tell him is to believe in yourself. I never had the courage to, step outside my comfort zone until Nate 6 years ago.
Right.
I never did. I was, I kind of played close to the curve. I never took chances. I never took a risk. I never put myself out there.
You said risk. You would tell yourself to take, well, you didn't necessarily tell yourself to take the risk, but you said one thing you didn't do was take risks. I find that to be very true, and I find it to be something that if people really understood what that means, that they would do it more often. Now, of course, it doesn't mean, go out here, step in front of a car. It doesn't mean do something silly, but it really, to me, what it means is when there's an opportunity, you take the risk to seize the opportunity, right? And for you, the opportunity was applying for a job that you really didn't know anything about. You took the risk, you applied for the job, and now look what has transpired since. And I feel like a lot of times when people if you take the risk, you will find there will be a reward. There is no reward without taking the risk, if you want to look at it that way. If you want the reward, you've got to take the risk. And, I feel that there are countless people that wake up every day and they're hating their jobs, they're hating their lives.
I was there.
They're in situations that they're absolutely unhappy in. However, they are unwilling to take the risk for the potential reward of having a better life, of having, you know, like the subtitle says of the podcast, of having a better version of yourself. For me, those risks, my risks have come a lot of times not because I wanted it, it's because I was pushed to a point. So at that, you know, I had to do something. So I took a risk. You know, I didn't know anything about selling cars. As a matter of fact, I was always afraid of selling. I was in retail for 17 years before I got in the car business, and I took a risk. One day I left my retail job on my lunch break and went down to the car dealership and did an interview on my lunch break and said, you know what, I'm going to try this. Because I was like, well, hey, if I can sell a washer and dryer at H.H. Gregg and make $2 or $4 selling a washer and dryer set, certainly I can make hundreds of dollars potentially selling a vehicle. And that's the reason why I took the risk to get into the car business. But, you know, that for me, I was saying, I was forced to take the risk because, you know, I was in a situation where, you know, really I wasn't making the money that I needed to make to take care of my family. And I left, you know, the job on my lunch break and went to interview at the car dealership, and next thing you know, here I am. But had I not taken that risk, even before that, even, you know, I took a risk leaving Durham to come to Hickory, North Carolina, to manage a store in the middle of nowhere that I didn't know anything about. But had I not taken that risk, I never would have had the opportunity to do what I'm doing now. And it's really propelled me to do so many other things because I took that chance, I took that risk. So, you know, definitely, you know, if you're listening, taking that risk.
And I will say, you know, during those 6 years, I'm not trying to paint, you know, a rosy picture. You know, there have been demotions, suspension, job rejections, countless job rejections, write-ups, and, you know, there's been a lot of that, but that did not stop, you know. So I'm not trying to paint a rosy picture. I went through all that.
Listen,
you know.
brother, I understand. I totally understand. You know, I'm in the car business because ultimately, after 3 years with a company, they fired me because they said I wasn't developing fast enough. How did it take you 3 years to figure out somebody isn't developing fast enough? Me, when I was a manager, it didn't take me 3 years to figure out I had an employee that just wasn't going to cut it. I knew it in the first 2 weeks. Right? But it took them 3 years to figure out. I was like, okay. But at the same token, this same company, after 4 months with the company, they gave me a store. I was supposed to be in training. After 4 months, oh, you're doing so well, we're going to give you a store. But then down the line, so I totally understand what you mean by it's not all roses, but the beauty in it, the beauty in it is the journey, and the beauty in it is the challenges that are going to come and how you overcome those challenges. And to me, that's more of the success than anything else, because the challenges are going to come.
It is.
You know, the challenge is going to come, but how are you going to handle that? How are you going to deal with it? You know, so that's awesome. So
you know, the funny thing,
sorry,
cut off. So the funny thing is, we were driving out today, and we drove to a bank that I used to work with. I'm not going to name the name, and I put myself back to that place. And I could not imagine that person being this person, you know.
Right.
But I definitely appreciated that journey, you know, the valleys and peaks to where I am now. But I told the person I said, oh my God, I couldn't imagine working there now.
Right.
You know? But the struggle that it took to get there has been awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So another thing that, you know, I feel is part of this recipe for achieving success is reading. You know, some time ago, you know, I heard someone say that the true wealth or wealth is found in books. There's one book that that I read that started me down this whole path of self-improvement or or leadership training and I don't want to say motivational because it's really not. It's more than motivational. For you to have sustained success is more than being motivated, because motivation only lasts for a short period of time. But the book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, was kind of the book that started it all for me. It's a very easy book to read. I personally am a slow reader. I always have been. So physically reading is not my thing, but I have an Audible collection with hundreds of books in it.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I listen to.
Me too.
Right. And I feel like that's been part of my ability to do what I've been doing. What book or books have been most influential in your journey?
Well, to me, is 48 Laws of Power.
Yes.
It's helped me with dealing with different type of folk and just navigating the way through that. And Nate, as you know, you meet different people with different sets of personalities,
right?
And you have this snapshot of what they are and just how to deal with it,
right?
And that helped me immensely with just navigating just different type of personalities and doing what you want to do, because what I tell folk, you can be qualified all you want to, but it just comes down to if somebody personally likes you or not,
right?
And they can be a doorstop in you getting where you need to go. So
that's true. True.
That's helped me. Yeah, that has helped me a lot with just I use this word, managing people. It's helped me managing people and still doing what you need to do as far as progressing your career.
Right. Now, you talk about managing people. How important have you found that skill, that ability, that wherewithal of managing people? And I know what you mean by managing people. Being able to effectively communicate and navigate and interact with key people within your sphere. How important has that been in your journey?
With me, it's important because not all people are alike, and you have to kind of morph into whatever. How can I put this? Whatever you because it's real quick. You get this snapshot of a person, and then you have to quickly adapt, not really change who you are to the core, but kind of stroke their ego and adapt. You kind of get what you want, and maybe it's vice versa. Still, I don't think I have enough time to get into, but it's something that's very important. Once you have that skill, it will help you immensely going what you need to do. And then I manage people too. And I've used that in my approach, managing people. And I've had lifetime experience because I've younger brothers, Right. So I've been managing all my life. But it is that skill of, definitely being respectful, but it's also empowering people, and then working with them to get the job done.
Yeah. I mean, I've in 17 years in retail, absolutely the ability and the skill to manage people and understand people and understand their different personalities was key to me being able to sort of move up through the ranks there. So I get it. Thanks for watching the Achieve Success podcast. New episodes premiere every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. on YouTube. Make sure to visit the blog at achievesuccesspodcast.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and you can listen on your favorite podcast platform. See you guys next time.